Barely a day goes by when Conor McGregor isn't in the news for something or other. And the Irishman hit the headlines again last week after suggesting he could be set to make a comeback in a much higher division. So what does the future hold for the Notorious One? Today we're discussing Conor's recent claims, plus what could be awaiting him in the 185-pound division. Stay with us. First up, news from around the MMA world and a word on the late Stephan Bonnar from Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan has been around the UFC since its earliest days, and his first ever gig with the promotion was actually as a backstage interviewer. Once the bosses realized the true scope of his knowledge, he was moved to the booth, where he has provided color commentary and post-fight interviews ever since. This has given Joe unparalleled access to fighters, and he's been in attendance to watch some of the greatest fights in the history of the sport. He's also been there to see countless careers unfold before his eyes, one of which was the legendary Bonnar. Taking to Instagram shortly after the news of Stephan's passing was made public, Rogan authored an emotional post about Bonnar, which read, "We lost a real legend. RIP to one of the most important figures in the explosion of MMA. Stephan Bonnar and Forrest Griffin engaged in a battle on Spike TV in 2005 that was so wild and so entertaining that it changed the course of the UFC and the sport of mixed martial arts forever. You will not be forgotten." Of course, Rogan is as close as one can get to the UFC and their fighters without actually fighting himself, so his words carry a certain amount of extra weight, and those words are absolutely on point. Bonnar changed the landscape of mixed martial arts in North America in such a way that it can never be undone. RIP Stephan Bonnar. Cain Velasquez has detailed his recent stint in prison next. Stay with us. Cain is currently out on bail awaiting trial for attempted murder after he tried to shoot a man who'd been molesting his son, and he recently appeared on the Keepin' It 100 podcast, where he detailed what it was actually like in jail. Of course, Velasquez explained that there is a lot of time to think about what you've done, the bad side and the good side. He spoke of how his faith helped him through the tough times and that he just had to keep being positive, explaining that it's all going to work out for the best, always. Cain then revealed he was actually in protective custody, which seemed a little strange considering who he is and what he's in jail for. I mean, many people view his actions as heroic, but he apparently was only allowed access to a few people. He went on to thank those who had supported him, saying he knew all along that most people were behind him. Hopefully, he gets acquitted. Next up, the latest in McGregor's ongoing legal case with Artem Lobov. McGregor is currently embroiled in a legal case against Artem Lobov, who is claiming that the Irishman promised him 5% of his $600 million Proper No. 12 whiskey sale. However, with the pair involved in legal proceedings, McGregor recently took to social media to call Lobov a rat, whilst also encouraging him to come and fight him one-on-one outside their old gym. Of course, Lobov is trying to win a legal case, so wasn't interested in McGregor's ridiculous suggestion of a fist fight. Instead, Artem decided to respond to the incident by lodging a defamation suit against McGregor. But it seems the Russian simply cannot catch a break these days. The Irish High Court have this week backed McGregor and told Lobov that Mr. McGregor's social media statements calling Mr. Lobov a rat were not defamatory, but they were nothing more than vulgar abuse. The court then explained that McGregor's words were part of a rant by a trash-talking MMA fighter and not factual. Therefore, no reasonable member of society would attach any significance to these tweets, meaning Lobov has no basis to bring a case against McGregor from a defamation point of view. In the latest turn of events, Conor has since posted a picture of Artem superimposed onto a packet of raw sausages. The mind boggles when it comes to Conor McGregor. It really does. Conor has used his social media influence in a positive way for once next. Stay with us. In what could possibly be described as one of the most surprising developments of the year, Conor McGregor has actually been involved in a positive Twitter post recently. In a superb story of courage and determination, a man known as Zion Clark recently registered a win on his MMA debut. Now, this might not sound like something out of the ordinary. I mean, people are involved in MMA fights all the time, right? Well, Zion Clark was born without any legs. Yes, you heard us. The wrestler from Columbus, Ohio recently took part and won his first MMA fight, which led to congratulations from Conor McGregor himself, who took to Twitter to shout out Clark. He said, "Absolutely fascinating to hear about this man's debut, and now we see it," before going on to give him props for the wrestling technique he showed, saying, "Lightning entry on the low single, wow, you should not connect to him in any shape or form. Frames only, frame to strike, fascinating. Congrats and so much respect to that man Zion Clark. MMA is the best sport." McGregor went on to explain that Clark's game plan was superb, and his opponent couldn't kick as he's a grounded opponent. Clark went on to thank McGregor, saying, "Appreciate the love and respect," before tagging McGregor, then adding that he has proven his doubters wrong and he's excited to see how far he can go. Wow, what an absolute legend Zion Clark is. Next up, Conor has responded to Logan Paul. Paul recently mocked Conor about his performance against Floyd Mayweather back in 2017, after the Irishman claimed that, like most combat sports fans, he has very little interest in the recent trend of this genre of boxing, meaning the recent celebrity crossover fights made popular by Jake Paul, mostly. Logan took his words to heart and shot back. Genre of boxing? Boxing is boxing. I'm a YouTuber and I still did more damage to Floyd than you. Of course, everybody knows that Floyd Mayweather took it easy on the older Paul brother and even said so after the fight. I mean, there was even footage of Paul encouraging Floyd to chill in the middle of their fight, which just proves that Paul was under the impression that Floyd wasn't going full tilt. However, Conor couldn't help himself and got caught up in a back and forth with Logan, firing back, "I gave Floyd Mayweather a black eye. How about you?" This is slightly embarrassing for McGregor, a former two-weight UFC champion. I mean, the best way to show people like Logan Paul that you don't care about them is by simply ignoring them. Responding to their stupid claims on social media only serves to validate them and give them more of a platform. A platform which, with many people around the world of combat sports, hope is ripped out beneath them sooner rather than later. So, what did Conor have to say about a potential move to middleweight? As we all know, Conor McGregor hasn't seen sight nor sound of a UFC arena in 18 months, since breaking his leg in the trilogy fight with Dustin Poirier. Since then, he's taken up a career as a part-time internet troll, giving his thoughts on anything and everything MMA related, which usually ends in him insulting someone or another. McGregor is a two-weight champion at 135 and 145 pounds, but considering his recent social media posts in which he appears to have put on considerable size, the idea of a return to those lighter divisions appears to be a little far-fetched. He has been the victim of rumors of late that he's using steroids, which appear to have a little bit of substance when you look at set photos, and he has also hinted that he could actually fight at middleweight upon his return. During the recent Strickland vs. Cannonier fight night event, Conor took to Twitter to explain that he plans to fight at 185 pounds one day, before adding, "I'm a big fridge at middleweight, but hot like ovens same time. You know yourself, catch it on PPV. Don't know though, it'd be hard work. Those rounds against those middle/IHW, they were alternating fresh each round. I've put in psycho work doing this job over the years." What he is forgetting is that everyone is a big fridge at middleweight. So what would Conor McGregor at middleweight look like? Stay tuned. McGregor is fast becoming one of the most delusional men in the sport, having won just one fight in 6 years against an aging and over-the-hill Donald Cerrone. McGregor's ideas of challenging anyone in the middleweight division is quite simply laughable. He has made claims that in the build-up to the Cerrone fight, he sparred with middleweights, but bringing middleweights into your gym as the star of the show to give you a workout ahead of a UFC fight differs vastly from getting into a UFC octagon with one of the current middleweight roster. If we look at the bottom-ranked fighter in the division, for example, who right now is Darren Till, then it says a lot that you probably wouldn't even expect McGregor to beat him, such as the natural weight difference. Yes, Darren is going through a rough patch at the moment, but then so is McGregor. He hasn't been a genuine threat in the UFC for years now, and the idea that he could challenge the higher-ups in the middleweight division is insane. Pretty much all the top 10 would maul him, and even go up against the number 10 fighter in the division is Dricus du Plessis, who would have serious consequences for the Irishman. That's not to mention any of the top 5. I mean, can you imagine Conor fighting Robert Whittaker or Israel Adesanya? It is utter madness. Someone needs to warn Conor against the idea. And fast. What do you guys think? As always, thanks for dropping in on us today, and remember to swing by again next time when we will be discussing loads more cool bits and pieces. And why not do us a big favor by liking and sharing today's video? Bye guys.